Hi, Danielle.
Hi, how are you?
I can call you Danielle.
Yeah, that's great.
You prefer your students to call you Danielle.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference?
No. I'll answer to pretty much anything. We'll take Dr. D, which I think is kind of cute. Mm-hmm. It's very like nicknamey, and then it makes me feel like maybe I have like a rap career on the side. But that aside, Danielle is fabulous. We
Perfect.
love that.
I have Dr. D with me here today for a discussion on Women's History Month, closing out Women's History Month. I feel like what better guest than someone who discusses stuff like gender and intersectional identities in her class.
Thank you.
I have so many questions for you.
I'm so excited to be here. Can't wait for you to ask them all. We're getting through them all. I can feel it.
This is going to be a long one. Dr. D, what challenges have you faced? Let's start with a rough one first.
Oof. Yeah, get into it.
What challenges have you faced as a woman in leadership, and how have you overcome them? Whether that's through like being a professor here at UD or anywhere else in life.
We love. Okay, not that rough. Fairly gentle, because we love the addendum at the end where we're thinking about like, but then what, right? Because I think calling out these issues and addressing them, huge. But then like having your little moment to celebrate your successes, also huge. Admittedly, I think a big problem I have faced is partially of my own manufacturing. But I say that knowing full well that like I'm a person within a system, right? So I have taken on a lot of service in my role. So I have my 3 pillars, right? I'm supposed to be doing researching, and I'm supposed to be teaching, and I'm supposed to be doing service. So all of that stuff is super relevant for me to like be successful in this career. I have taken up a lot of service in place of things like research that absolutely needs to get done for me to be successful. So that looks like joining committees to help make decisions. That looks like taking on students and advising them in their academics. That looks like all kinds of different things that are associated with very quote unquote feminine labor. So being asked to do those kinds of tasks, taking up those roles, and being considered successful in those spaces is very secretarial in a lot of ways. So that's been a challenge that I have not necessarily done myself any favors for, because what is the word no? Have we heard her before? Maybe we haven't. So we've said yes to a lot of things, and now we've kind of left not enough room for research. So that's a huge challenge that I face that I think is absolutely wrapped up in my identity as a woman. So in order to like face that challenge, we do need to learn the word no. We do need to get better about setting our boundaries, but we also can do a better job of asking why we are being asked to take up that role. Like, is it truly related to the skills I bring to the table aside from my gender? Or are you literally asking me because you know I'm organized, I'm detail-oriented, I love to color code a spreadsheet? Like, what space do you really think I'm going to take up in this room? And is that appropriate for me exclusively?
That was a beautiful answer.
Was that good? Was it too long? Are the rings too loud?
I know. I'm celebrating you here today with my rings.
Oh my God, cute.
I'm going to throw another tough question your way because I know you can handle it.
I'm ready.
How do you navigate through these celebrations of women, Women's History Month, and other similar months? I know Asian American and Pacific Islander Month is also on its way. How do you celebrate but also do the work and advocacy for those months, especially during this tumultuous time in history right now?
Well phrased. We love that. Huge question. I'm going to start with, does anybody really know? So we're going to start with that. But, oh God, how do we celebrate but also do the hard work of advocacy? Like, how do we find that balance? Is that what we're getting at?
Yeah, how do we find that balance? Because I know I talked with Leah, and we talked a lot about striking a balance of enjoying ourselves, and because, you know, some things, there's some changes right now, especially on a lot of college campuses, and finding the bittersweetness in there's a lot of work ahead of us, but let's just take some small victories one step at a time.
I stand firm at, does anybody really know? But I also think, and maybe this isn't the most productive answer because it's very like critical scholar of me and people hate critical scholars, but maybe we could start dismantling the idea that it is a dichotomy, right? Like, of course, we do have to find the balance, and emotionally we can feel those up and downs, but maybe we move away from the idea that these things are distinct and separate and like mutually exclusive instead of like always part of the same forward motion. So when we do pause, pausing isn't stopping, right? Pausing is stepping off of a path of obsessive productivity. Pausing is stepping away from institutionalized lessons that capitalism has taught us, but that's not stopping, right? That's still moving forward, but just in a different, maybe unfamiliar direction. So maybe we start to accept the fact that doing our cutie little girly celebrations, doing those moments of joy and really engaging in those and being fully present in those, feeling the air coming into our lungs and exiting through our noses. Maybe that in and of itself, even though it feels like a little victory, is actually that advocacy. It is that fight. It is that push forward. Complementing that with the harder, dirtier, institutionalized work is important, but ensuring that we don't view them as separate, because isolating is one of our tools of colonialism that we are calling out and we are moving past. So isolating even what we think our progress is not helpful, right? Like maybe dismantling that is something that we could do to bring balance to these ideas of peace and joy and advocacy and activism. Even though they feel different, they're still one and the same on a path that we should take and move forward on and be proud of.
I agree.
Yeah? Is that good? Does that work?
That was perfect.
Okay, amazing. But that's what I mean about like people hate critical scholars, because then the question is like, okay, but how do I do that? Do you know what I mean? And we don't have a handbook for that. So I
get that.
We reassert.
Me ruining the mood anytime I'm like, capitalism, guys, wait.
No, feminist killjoy is all I've ever known.
Speaking of people we'd love to champion during this month, who are your role models? Who are your favorite women that you're thinking about this month?
Yum. We could just go for like the current golden trio of like SZA, Issa Rae, and Keke Palmer, because if you don't pause your Instagram and TikTok feed to watch Keke Palmer talk about defying gravity as a slave hymn every time it comes on your feed, you're wrong. You need that repetition. Like you need to get the reps in of watching her say that. So obviously them. We also need to spend a lot of our time with Kimberly Crenshaw, because we need to spend a lot of our time analyzing intersectionality, right? We come off of Black History Month, the shortest month of the year, and we go right into Women's History Month. And again, with like separating these things and making them like discrete little spaces rather than pulling through our threads like, okay, so in the context of Black History Month, how do we then apply that lens in addition to our analysis of Women's History Month? And so that's a huge one. And then this is so embarrassing, I can't remember her name. But there is an Asian activist who was huge during our civil rights movement in the 60s. And so her history gets lost a lot. I will look her up and say her name. This is embarrassing. This woman is somebody who post World War II called out this idea of the model minority myth, right? This idea that Asian Americans, especially Japanese Americans who were being reintegrated into white society, were somehow a superior minority compared to Black Americans. So she called out that as an issue that just props up a white status quo, and instead looked for ways where all people marginalized by things like capitalism, all people marginalized by the neo-colonial legacy that capitalism is born from. She called out how they have these through lines and these threads in this community that needs to be nurtured, cared for, and activated. So she is definitely somebody I'm thinking about, because I don't want my Asian Pacific Islander heritage to separate me from all of these other women. I want it to be something that makes me feel proud, but then allows me to bring something unique to a space that we share, because it's so important that we have those overlaps. So that's why we spend our time with Kimberly Crenshaw. Intersectionality is this analysis of not only is being a woman and a space of neglect, a space of marginalization, a space of like mysticism that we really need to investigate. But then if you add all of these other overlays on top of it, that makes the experience even more nuanced. It adds even more shades of gray. And so we really need to like look into that, celebrate that, call that out, etc. So those are probably my big ones.
Mm-hmm. As a woman in academia, do you have any book recommendations, music, podcast recommendations for people to listen to, not only during Women's History Month, but throughout, afterwards, after the month is said and done?
Right, like continuing to show up on like April 1st when we move into new things. Hold.
Go through your list. Go through your list.
No, for real, because one thing on my list is Hood Feminism, and I haven't read it yet, but I'm very excited to take a look at it. But
I've heard of that book.
I'm really excited about it.
I still have to get into bell hooks.
That's literally what I was going to call. I was going to look for a bell hooks like specific title, so I didn't just say like bell hooks, and I had like a real one, but embarrassingly, I don't. Okay, move on to your next question while I look this up so that we don't like waste your time.
I have a punk girl playlist, like just punk rock.
I do too, because when we watch, super sidebar, but when we watch We Are Lady Parts in Intercultural Comm, I always get the comment, because like, I didn't know there were female rockers, and it's literally...
Which is crazy.
Like, that's an insane thing to say out loud.
Yeah.
Like, what an inside thought that you brought into a space where I can, like, perceive you.
Yes.
Crazy.
We have one of our arts and entertainment editors, Lauren, here with us, and I'll have to bring Bryce. Bryce is the other editor here too, and I feel like Bryce would crash out at, I didn't know there was any girl rockers.
That's literally in quotes is the name of the playlist. Like, it has quotes around it, and then it says - my students, and that's the name of the playlist.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's beautiful.
Also, hi Bryce. How are you? How are you doing? I hope you're amazing.
We Are Lady Parts is a great piece of media, though, to consume during Women's History Month.
There it is. My academic identity was like, you have to name a book. No, you don't. No, you don't. So We Are Lady Parts, huge. We love that. Blew my mind in the most embarrassing way possible when we were looking at all of the depictions of what it means to be a Muslim woman. I was so unprepared for the nuance that was there, which is embarrassing. But we've grown since then, and we're working on it, and we use the show to do that. Another one I highly recommend. This one is a little less School of Pro-Pros, but Sense8 on Netflix. And if you don't stand Netflix, I totally get it. But Sense8 was made by the Wachowski sisters, who also did the Matrix series. And we all know Matrix is all about trans identity, passing, etc. This takes that to a much more imaginative lens, and it also always ends in the moral of like love. Like, the end of the story is all about how love, acceptance, and community are powerful tools. It's like so hopeful and so beautiful. I literally had a man look at me and be like, I just don't feel like Sense8 is that like realistic, because they always like win the day. And I was like, who hurt you? Why are you so sad?
Yeah, who doesn't like a good, like, happy ending?
That's what I'm saying. He was like, well, that's why I like Breaking Bad, because no one gets their way, and it's sad, and that feels realistic to me. And I was like...
Average male response. Like, okay.
Like, we ride at dawn to dismantle the patriarchy. And you're coming with, because...
Smell the flowers.
You didn't even know it hurt you. And yet you said that out loud as like, this is a judge of value of a piece of art. It's too hopeful. It's too full of light. Sir.
Sir, smell the flowers.
Right. Touch a singular blade of grass. Just a thought.
Just a thought.
Cut
that sounds like a good show.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Dairy Girls right now. Me and my mom love that show. That show, pertaining to Women's History Month, that was during a historical time.
Camera.
I know. I don't know. I'm looking at the wrong camera every single time.
Should we just scan all three of them? Is that disconcerting? No. Totally normal neck movements. Dairy Girls is amazing.
That's a great show.
We also love the historical context of Dairy Girls, because, again, when we're thinking about colonialism and her intergenerational harms that she perpetrates unendingly, that show, I think, tackles those nuances so beautifully and focuses on how, like, a hyper-local response, how hyper-local community building is appropriate. I think sometimes we get really swept up in this idea that, like, if I don't change it nationwide, it's not enough. And that's just not true. And that's also part of that whole thing where, like, my activism is separate from my joy. It's like, no, Your little movements in small spaces matter, and those count. And just because social media makes it feel like the globe is at your very fingertips doesn't mean that that's the level of change that is the only level that's appropriate to celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
No.
That's a great insight. Women's History Month, just a girl.
It's going good.
Let's ask that question.
Yeah.
Do you have a motto or mantra that you're gravitating towards this Women's History Month, which is may or may not be different than past months?
Oh, I love that. That's such a good question. Do you?
I'm just a girl is one.
Huge.
And doing it scared, I think, is one that I'm thinking about right now. Feeling the fear and doing it anyways.
I love that. Doing it scared is huge. I'm big on nothing matters, so nothing matters. Because I think that's related to, like, I think that's the next step to doing it scared is just like recognizing that, like, so much of it is not even real. So much of it is just in your head and nothing matters. And we're not like, nothing matters. So like we abandon everything. We're like, no, nothing matters. So literally anything is possible kind of thing. But when we say anything is possible, that's scary and big and huge. So like nothing matters. So like nothing matters.
Yeah.
That's your permission. Get in there. Think about other ones.
Very absurdist of you.
I think everyone who knows me will be shocked by that analysis.
Well, thank you so much
Oh my God, you're so welcome.
Coming with me and joining me on this podcast.
Wait, we have to ask you a question
Danielle.
too.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah,
I didn't
hello.
know. Dr. D.
Okay.
Who teaches intercultural comm. I don't know if I mentioned that, but great class.
I do what I can.
Super educational.
Thanks.
As is most classes, but
ideally that's the goal.
very beautiful class.
Thank you. Ideally that's the direction we head. But we do love a good safe space.
It is a very good safe space.
Especially to like explore things that we don't know and accept that there are things that we don't know and move forward with curiosity. We love that. I have a question for you because I've been like thinking about this like a lot. And then I also do want to know like who your idols are when it comes to like embracing Women's History Month. Oh, we also have to drop, just like shove this in to the other part where we were talking about who our idols are. Miss Marsha P. Johnson. We always have to pour one out for Miss Marsha P. Johnson for forever. Rest in power. Embracing your femininity and making it feel like a powerful thing to do is not always easy. And it's not always perceived the way that you hope, right? Sometimes people are like, you're girly because you love the patriarchy, because heteronormativity is what you're about. So how do you, as a person who embraces her own femininity, but is also a very powerful, capable, intelligent, insert important adjective here, how do you balance that on an individual level in spaces, especially at your age, where it may not be perceived as the powerful choice that you're making?
That's a really good question to ask.
Thank you.
I think every young girl goes through a phase when they're little where they hate the color pink or they hate certain things that are feminine because it's seen as like the weaker thing on the playground.
Yes.
And then a lot of women then get older and rediscover, wait, pink is actually really cute. So I think a lot of it depends on your environment that you've grown up in. But rediscovering that joy that you have outside of that space with no like external factors at play, I think helps you discover what you really like. Some people really like presenting masculine and those types of things, and some people are much more feminine. I'm thinking of Elle Woods at the moment, and also another attorney, I'm forgetting her name, but she wears like pink suits. She's an immigration lawyer, and I'm thinking of those women right now who accept and let in their femininity, but don't let it define their work or their careers. So I don't think I've ever had experiences.
AOC.
AOC.
Stacey Abrams.
I don't think I've had experiences where I've gotten a lot of pushback on how I present and how I embrace femininity.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there is moments where I'm sitting in a room and I feel like, oh, I can tell like my opinion's a little bit devalued just based off how I present and that type of thing. But I think when I do feel that way, I have to just remind myself that regardless of how I choose to present, I know I'm capable of whatever it is I'm doing.
Yes.
I know that I'm smart enough to be there. I know what I'm talking about. And if I wasn't ready, then the opportunity wouldn't be presented to me.
Yes.
So
yes.
that's my answer.
We trust in the larger universe.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Oh, so good. More media I highly recommend people consume.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that Kyle Prue does, for all of our dude bros out there who it's too big of a leap to go right to Kimberly Crenshaw.
Mm-hmm.
Watch some Kyle Prue on Instagram. Do you know who Kyle Prue is?
I do not.
He is the pioneer of things you can say to piss off men. So if a man is approaching you unsolicited at a bar and he simply will not leave you alone, the original line that he came up with to diffuse that situation and get yourself right on out of there is, "You really look like a man who can't swim."
I've heard those comebacks before of people being like, saying something not too overtly offensive, but saying something that like will have them like thinking in the car ride later, like, what did they mean by that?
Why do I feel hurt right now? Yeah. Get in there and kind of see. And if you are a person who is reactive to those statements, if you're getting offended by those statements, really examine that. It's another thing I've been telling my students. This isn't so much a mantra, and then I promise we could be done. A thing I've been telling my students that isn't so much a mantra as it is just like a long-term task is ask yourself why you believe what you believe and really think about who benefits from you believing what you believe. And when you think about who benefits, you also have to think about who gets marginalized by why you believe what you believe, right? If you're engaging in certain beliefs about what femininity looks like, what masculinity looks like, where did that come from? And who benefits from you continuing to believe that and continuing to embody that and enact that in your life? And if you're not sure who benefits and if you're not sure who's being marginalized, then maybe you don't know why you believe what you believe. Like maybe you haven't really thought it through enough. And maybe taking some time to examine that would be a good use of your time.
I think that's a great idea. And I think especially during these tumultuous times, a lot of people are trying to dig deep into their identity and figure out, why do I think the way I think and why do I believe the things I believe? So I think there's a lot of different processes of transformation and reflection going on right now.
Which is so important. And things have to stop being, like I keep emphasizing, like there is always shades of gray. It is not black and white, and that includes with things like your political identity, right? Black and white, red or blue. Everything is a matter of a spectrum, and we have to respect the fact that that spectrum doesn't even always have to be linear, right? Sometimes it's a big pie where we're radiating in and out. Sometimes it is more orbital, right? It's not just always a spectrum, which is how we get to horseshoe theory. We could be done, and then we'll talk about horseshoe theory. Good job, everyone.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for the invite.
Of course.
Jazzed out of my mind.
We talked about a lot of different intercultural things, not only to do with gender, with Women's History Month, but in a broader spectrum of cultures and identities. And I hope you have a great Women's History Month, not only this month, but every month, as a woman that I very much admire.
It's mutual, girl. It is so mutual. Cheers.
Golf claps.